Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls better tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. You can't go on, man, forget my peace. You take the west, I'll take on the east. I'ma put him in the cage, never let out the. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Man so tough, but man's keep walking, yeah. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls, better tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
Not to be outdone by his father, Greg Cody. Good work, Chris Cody. Good start to everything going on.
Is Greg Cody not to be outdone by his father, Wild Bill, or is Chris Cody not to be outdone by his father, Greg Cody?
I was getting to Chris Cody, but when he's in charge, sometimes there are little pings and dings in the jalopy that you hear, and so there was just a little bit of extra music there right at the start of the show. Chris Cody,
such a good open.
Not to be outdone by his father, who yesterday, I believe, produced the most surprising opinion of the year in the Me Too era by just aggressively defending leaving the toilet seat up in a unisex bathroom. A controversial stand. He stunned me yesterday because he tends to be fairly predictable, and in his columns, he's never written anything that provocative. He's written at the Miami Herald for 50 years without doing that. But not to be outdone by his father, Chris Cody today, I think, is willing to accuse A-Rod of something I don't believe he's been accused of publicly before. Fake cooking. He's accusing A-Rod. He's accusing A-Rod of fake cooking. A-Rod is in his kitchen in Minnesota, one would assume, and he is wearing Wolves gear and a Wolves hat.
There's not a chance in hell he lives in Minnesota.
There's not a chance in hell he had that outfit on.
It's a wolf scully, I guess is what that would be called. It wouldn't be a hat. Yes, Chris.
I just love this video. It's like a night at home. He's trying to paint the picture of I'm a normal person, and it's my night to cook. And he describes this. I think he talks about a steak, a side dish, but all you see in the video is him moving a bunch of lettuce from one bowl to a plate. There's no sign of any steak. I want to watch this and I want to dissect this because he's trying to paint the picture that it's his night to cook.
But you're accusing him of fake cooking.
I'm just saying.
You're not saying it. Yeah. You haven't said it yet. You say you're just saying, but you haven't said anything.
I said fucking. I mean,
are you accusing
what more can
him?
I say?
How many fucking times you want him to say it?
Are you publicly, you're saying it the way Conor McGregor does.
I'm saying I would have liked to seen a little steak somewhere because he references a steak, and I don't see a steak anywhere. Let's play this video for the folks.
All right, so it's my turn to cook tonight. I'm a great cook. I'm going to have a little Caesar salad. Do a little seasoning here, and then you bring it back.
Yeah,
a little
that's not
steak.
Yeah, he
little
didn't do anything.
some veggies, some plátano. Oh, yeah, check. Some plátano maduros.
That's it. He shows coffee there. So he just moves lettuce.
He transferred lettuce
into a pan for some reason.
Into a pan that you would cook on the stove with.
Yeah.
You put
It is
cold lettuce on the pan.
It's
Gotcha, okay.
absolutely fake cooking. Is Jessica the only one among us here who knows anything about cooking? Chris, your father's a good cook.
Wow.
What are you doing
What
there?
is that supposed to mean?
It was a fair question.
I mean, she bakes. She brings in baked goods.
Baking is different than cooking, though, Dan.
If you like to bake, you like to cook.
I haven't ate out since the Obama administration, big brother. I cook every meal. That's right. Meal prep. You gotta, I'm trying to watch my figure, big brother.
But I can.
She knows how to cook. She's a woman.
I can bake. I can't cook. I'm a great baker.
Bake?
I bake cookies.
He bakes every day.
You
I
get
do bake every day.
Different story.
Yes, I'm great at it.
Put it on the poll, please, at Le Batard Show. If you know how to bake, do you know how to cook? Because I assume if you're doing one, you're doing the other. And when you say you're a good baker, I'm guessing all you know how to do is take some cookies out of the freezer and throw them in the oven.
The fridge. Yes.
I mean, okay. Yes, you don't know.
Put them on a pan.
But You don't know how to mix ingredients in a bowl and create cookies.
No.
But that doesn't make
Now
you.
you've got too
That
far.
doesn't make you a good baker.
Well, baking is harder than cooking, number one. Like, baking is by far harder because baking is a lot easier to mess up than cooking. Cooking, you can always add extra spices and kind of make up for your mistakes. Where baking, you can't. But, like, no one actually knows how to bake. Everyone's just following recipes, right?
Yeah. Right. Cooking is like a blank canvas. Like, I can change things. Whereas baking, you need to have, like, this exact stuff. Exact ingredients, a little off, and it tastes totally different.
But Billy, what are you saying? That a baker doesn't know how to bake without a book of ingredients?
I'm gonna tell you what I just told Jessica. I don't know what I just said today. Like, I'm out of it. I'm sick. I was gonna call out. I have Mucinex in my system. I was just talking. Yeah.
Well, yesterday I saw you distracted the entire show by putting pills and medicines behind you. I was told you were gone for a segment because you were at CVS. What's going on with you?
I made it so quick. I went over to CVS. There's a CVS apparently 2 blocks from me. Also a Ross. You guys know there's a Ross right
Do you
down
need
the
pills?
street from you?
Absolutely.
Oh, by the way, Tony is Neo from The Matrix, although Jessica accurately said that if we had a third show in Vegas, that's probably the outfit that he would have worn.
I'm the one, Dano, and if you need pills, I got you. Just let me know.
He does have pills.
Gotta get them out here, little red ones, yeah.
It looks like David Sampson's like candy bag that he brings in.
The Red Demons, huh?
You know.
That's
like
what be
that.
wrong with my boy. My boy be eating a whole bag of candy a day, a zip of candy.
No one talks about. That's why he's so weird. Too much candy.
All right. Well, Jimmy Butler did an interview yesterday where he said he was having 10 to 12 cups of coffee a day. Our record holder around here is Ed Orgeron on sugar, where he said he had 10 to 12 energy drinks a day, and we all assume those are the big Monster cans. Those are not small Red Bulls. Jokic has them both beat because he used to have a gallon of Coca-Cola a day.
That's nothing.
Wow.
What do you mean that's nothing?
Child's play.
That's why you're sick.
Kokich.
A gallon
That's what Mike Ryan has.
A gallon of Coca-Cola is something that you say is nothing? That's the worst of those 3 things I just described.
The Coker.
Juju, I assume that when you're cooking, that you're just aggressively proteins and baked potatoes.
Absolutely not. I'm delicate with it, big brother. Like, brother, ask my baby out there. I see you, my baby. She know I cook like none other. Like, you know what I mean? I'm actually a chef boyardee, as they say.
What's the go-to? Like, if you're really trying to impress her, though, like if we're doing something, trying to nice meal for you and the lady.
First off, I'm gonna cook some wings just for you to eat on while I finish this.
Little appetizer.
Appetizer
Little
wings.
yeah,
Just while
appetizer.
I do that,
Great.
you dig me? Now I'm gonna get the pasta and the fettuccine going. I don't know how long it's gonna take, cause like you say, when you're cooking and you're boiling, sometimes you be a little too high. You forgot how much was on it last time.
My mouth
you
is
dig
watering.
me? You dig me? And then you put that chicken in the oven. Oh my goodness!
Oh.
Come to the just as Willy Wonka say, salute the Slugworth, and then put it out. That's how it happens.
All right, you know what? I owe Juju an apology here because Juju can be understated. He will not. I don't. That's a funny thing to say, but Juju, when he's not boastful until you've assessed him poorly, and because if anyone else in this room had won their last 2 3-team parlays,
Three in a row, big brother. I won last night for 305. There you did.
Come on now.
man.
305, stand up.
Go, man.
he wouldn't volunteer that. But
Salute to Slugworth.
once you bring
I'd
it up,
lead with it.
I mean, Stugotz, if anyone here, I didn't realize you'd won 3 in a row. So you're 9-0 with your last 9 picks. Yesterday he hits it on the Butler 3 at the end of that game. At the end of the game, 13 seconds left. He's got over half a 3-pointer from Jimmy Butler, and that's where the parlay cashes. If any one of you had won that much, we wouldn't stop hearing about it.
Yeah.
You got to win with grace, you know what I mean? Because I had a lot of losses this year as well. And I salute all my brothers and sisters that remind me of that. So I'm winning with grace, you dig me?
Juju, 9-0, okay? 9-0 and cashing 3 straight 3-team parlays is the greatest gambling run this show has had.
Yes,
It's
sir.
not saying much.
I mean, hey, and guess what? We'll see you tomorrow for Thursday Thunder. You got to know. DraftKings, we love you.
I started an NFL season 0-16. I mean,
I think it was worse than that, actually. I think you're underselling it.
It's a hell of a run,
I
though.
think it was 0-19. But I see. Let's get this Gus Johnson sound from the weekend, from the Iowa game, because Gus Johnson, this is as normalized as I've ever heard gambling talked about on the air, Stugotz. You know, Al Michaels still is playing and pretending in the shadows that gambling is this dirty thing, when so many of the people watching these games, the reason they're watching is because their money is running up and down the court in a different uniform. But I don't believe I've ever heard on a national mainstream broadcast, you correct me if you think I'm wrong, this much extended time talk about gambling.
Not only can fans wager on the point spread, but they can wager on Clark's prop bets. If you bet, you'll do it, meaning score the 18 points and pass Pistol Pete in the second quarter. You have to wager $185 to win 100 if you're a gambler, either. And you hope she starts very fast or very slow. You can win $1,600 on a $100 bet if you think she'll score 18 in the first quarter, and you can win $4,000. That's right, $4,000 on a $100 bet if you think she won't get it until the fourth quarter. Action, action, action on cable.
Please normalize that.
A lot of details.
Not the terrible audio. That we've normalized around here. Please normalize talking about gambling that way instead of this shadowy, dirty thing. Stugotz, the walls have caved in on all of this in a way that made me stunned to be in Vegas and see the conservative NFL celebrating all of that while not allowing any of the players to play a slot machine while they're in
Well, the
Vegas.
players in the game.
I know, but
you
I'm
got a
saying
game to focus on.
There's a line, Dan. Come
there's
on.
a game to focus on.
Integrity.
Respect the game, Dan.
That's right. Because if Travis Kelce gets 3 cherries on the slot machine,
Just a bad visual. You can't have Creed Humphreys like at 3 a.m. in front of
Right.
a slot machine.
You can't do it. Dan, you know what 3 cherries on the slot machine could lead to in Vegas?
I really don't think slot machines even do that anymore. The 3 cherries. I think that's a 1980s.
They've gotten worse. Like I give me that. I don't like slot machines because I don't know if I'm winning. Like, you know what I mean? Back in my day, it would be 3 cherries in a row. Boom,
Right.
easy win. Nowadays,
Right.
it's like I just have to look at the bottom because it's like a bunch of good things pop up, and I'm like, this has to be good, and it's
Right.
nothing.
His father's son, Dano.
I don't like the digital. I like you pull down the shaft and then you have it go
You
like
have to
this.
pull a
Yeah,
lever.
exactly.
Hey,
love
exactly
pulling
right.
Yo.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, he's right.
Thank you.
It's just something satisfying about it. Mm-hmm. You don't want to press a button.
And you see, there's people like that are super into it. They like smack the screen.
Yes.
For like good luck.
Right.
It's crazy out here.
They time slot machines. They do. Like if your slot machine is a winning slot machine, like people time it out the next time it's going to win. They do. They're professionals.
You know who's really good at slot machines?
Who?
Mike Golick's wife. She is
Really?
She won like thousands of dollars on the slot. She
I don't-
always plays the slots.
I don't think it's possible to be really good at the slot
She
machine.
Gotta be
is.
luck.
I'm telling you.
No, that's the Heat. That's the way the Heat were built.
I'm watching this show called Deal or No Deal Island, and a lot of the contestants are coming on and they're saying, I've studied Deal or No Deal. I know exactly. I'm a good player on Deal or No Deal. I watch this. I'm really good. I've studied. And it's like, no, there's no amount of studying that you just because you used to be a case girl on Deal or No Deal 20 years ago doesn't give you an advantage for Deal or No Deal. You randomly are picking a case. You don't know anything more than anyone else because you've watched it more than anyone else.
Salute to the case girls.
Wasn't Meghan Markle on that show?
She was.
What?
Launched careers, yeah, before she was a princess or
Before she was on Suits.
whatever it is that she is now.
Billy, have you played the Deal or No Deal game? That it's either like-
Electric at Dave and Buster's.
At Dave & Buster's.
Oh,
I have a story
so
for
good.
this. Okay,
Yeah.
so my wife and I are on a date, and we're playing the game. What? Thank you. So we're playing the game, right? We're the last ones there. I'm working. Boom, boom, boom. All right, 15. No, okay. Case 16 is $100. We get down to 2 cases, ladies and gentlemen. The $1 million case is still available. Yeah. I click case 17. It opens up. It's $5. All of a sudden, the entire power shuts off in Dave & Buster's. Oh! I had the $1 million case, Dan. I was looking at it. It was about to open and give me like 1,000 tickets. Guess
Fascinating.
what? I think since we were the last people, Dave & Buster's workers were looking over and being like, I think he's going to do it. Turns it off in the middle of me opening it.
Oh, wow.
So to bring it back, Dan, slot machines are not a skill thing, probably not. And the NFL now doesn't let people gamble. So we're back to football.
You're unhelpful, fascinating to Tony to undercut him toward the
Was
end
that a good
of
story?
his
If we're gonna be honest, was that a good story?
If you're with your wife, is it a date?
Story.
For me, you don't go on a date with your wife. It's just a night out. Like
Well,
you
Be
go on a
careful.
I got bad news for you,
Careful
buddy.
here,
Some
brother.
people call it
care
date
about
night.
Very
you.
Yeah.
important.
Date someone else's wife.
No,
You're
I'm
married
saying
to
just
your wife.
terminology here. I know you go out with your with your wife for dinner
Right.
and a movie. I'm just saying I only call it a date if it's someone I'm like trying to court.
Chris, I got something for you then.
While
Since,
married?
since you think that way, go home tonight and ask your wife, can I take you on a date Saturday? And see what happened, big brother.
That's a game we're trying to give you
mean,
here for free,
She's
Chris.
probably
I
gonna
like
be
it.
like, what
Get in
kind
here.
of
But then you
stupid
might have
show
to
bit
go.
is this? If we're being honest.
Yeah, I just it's a semantics thing, but I just for me it's like when you're not married to
I'm
someone,
with
it's like
you.
let's go out on a date.
You're on a permanent date when you're married.
right. It's just a
Yes.
night out. Like I'm
Yes.
with like, hey, would you like
Right.
to go out
I think
on
Dan
Friday?
and Valerie go on dates. Do you date, Dan?
Absolutely.
Yes.
See?
I go on dates with my wife too, by your
with
definition.
Valerie.
I just never say let's go on a date, honey, because we're married. I'm just like,
Why?
you want to go out Friday? Like, what are we doing Friday?
Telling you.
I'm with you.
Power
Like,
words.
it might get her if I'm like,
No, it's not might. It's not might.
It's not
works.
mine.
It
It's not-
works,
if-
guys. I'm
it's-
trying to give you free game
I
here.
go out on dates with my wife. All like, you guys
Call
are
it
acting
a
like
date
I
night.
don't do this.
Call
The
it a
line-
date night,
the-
see what
No,
happens.
the line is kids. Once you have kids, you don't go on dates anymore.
That's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
You just get away from the kids.
Can we get a babysitter? Is
What
what
are
I
you
say.
saying about date night? Why do you have to call it date night?
Because it raises the level. What you don't get is when you go out for dinner, everybody goes out to dinner. You go out to dinner every night. That's not the point. When you make it a date night and you throw on a little something special, gets her feeling a little special, come on, man.
He's convincing me. I'm
No,
not
it's
fighting
not-
this.
there is no doubt that what he is saying is accurate, that you putting forth a single syllable of care toward honey I've thought about tonight.
Oh, you want me to call my wife? My dates are amazing. Okay, just because I don't call them dates, don't say I'm not taking my wife out.
Chris, what I
It's
am
unfair.
Chris, I'm not saying you don't go out with your wife and that your breath doesn't smell like beer the entire time. Beer and tortilla chips.
Vodka, probably on a
Father's
date
son.
night.
Mm-hmm.
Chris, what I am saying to you is if you let your wife know that you have placed a modicum of care on tonight, I'm trying to do something special, which is what all you got to give her is the syllable of a date. That's the effort you have to make. And Juju and Tony are nodding here, and you're looking at me like I've got this wrong.
You don't get it, Dan.
Kids change things. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah.
Once you have kids, you just try to find excuses to get away.
I just wait until Sunday. I mean,
Well, you look at you. You deteriorate all week. You can see it on his face. He shaves less and less.
It doesn't
Jessica's
have to be
looking
called.
at you.
It doesn't have to be called a date to woo. I woo. Okay.
Do you?
My wife is wooed.
How do you
Bi-weekly,
woo
I'd
your
say.
wife?
Bi-weekly.
I don't know about this.
Really?
I mean, she is smitten. Is that the
Really?
right? How I said
Yes.
smitten?
yes.
I woo her a plenty. All right. I don't
What
need
are we,
anyone here.
Sims? What do we mean by woo?
I'm just saying where she feels like, oh, this
I
was
think
nice
that's a
what you
Jada
did.
Pinkett movie.
I take her out. We go to nice things. I put on a nice shirt. I don't wear a hat. Like I'm telling you.
Put it on the poll, Juju.
You go the extra
Is
mile.
the
huh?
most romantic thing Chris does is not wear a hat.
I just don't call it a date.
Call it a
That's
date
it. That's,
once.
I'm just talking about the semantics here. I woo her.
Just
We
do
have-
it one time, Chris.
I will.
Just do it once.
You want me to
gonna
call
try-
her right now and be like, hey, you want to go on a date
Yeah,
tonight?
hey,
You should.
Kyle.
You
Yeah.
should. I'm going to try it.
Can
I
you
am.
record it? Can you?
It doesn't usually go well for me when I do this.
She
Let's
asked
go
him
poorly.
to stop doing that. If we're being fair to Chris.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Does Chris look to you like he woos bi-weekly?
Did any of you growing up, I feel like this is either a Chris or a Tony thing. Did any of you do that? Like, not the cologne, but like you put pheromones on you to like attract the person? Yeah. You haven't seen that?
No, that was not me, Billy.
I feel like you guys got into that.
Back in the day, I would do the cologne, one spritz on the neck, one on the wrist, rub the wrists. That was the play back in the day.
Why is that? Like, who's going around
What do you do
smelling
now?
wrists?
I don't know. It was just what I didn't make it up. Like, that's a thing, right?
No,
The
no, it
wrists?
is. It's a
No,
thing.
that's a thing. That's
It is a thing,
Yeah.
yes.
How do
Why
you-
is that?
How do you
I don't
woo
know.
now? It was a good question by Jess.
How do I woo now? I
Yes.
just
He
takes his hat off.
Puts it on.
get a babysitter.
I've seen him with his hat off. There's a reason he wears a hat all the time. Like
Dan.
I woo in my way. I don't need to. I'm not going to take a quiz.
Right.
His father's son.
He is his father's son. Put it on the poll, please, Juju at Le Batard Show. Have you ever doused yourself in pheromones?
He woos by putting the seat down for his wife, I think.
Honestly, getting a babysitter. That's how you woo these days.
Jessica, I'm going to play this sound yesterday from Greg Cody, his son's father, because this, I'm telling you, Stugotz, when people make the fair accusations and criticisms of our show, they all think the same. There's no diversity of thought. I bring you this fossil, a man from the past, aggressively arguing in a way that scares us when we get near the Me Too stuff, and he is out here with his dinosaur bones saying, I'm going to do it my way. And he turned it into flattery for women. He turned it into an act of care and a support and belief in women.
It was a great move.
It
by
was
him.
unbelievable.
Yes,
He
right.
really turned the tables on us. We illegally caught him in an investigation. We were surveilling him. We saw that he put the toilet seat up and he left it up. And when we accused him of it on air, he was not bashful at all. And he stunned me.
Okay, sometimes I do leave the seat up, and I do it without apology.
Wow.
Okay?
What?
I have high respect for females. I married a woman. I love women.
Okay.
They are perfectly capable of
Are
putting
you
the seat
shitting
down.
me? Are you
They don't need.
shitting me?
I'm not their manservant. They don't need me to do their work for them.
Oh, my God.
Hey, ladies, put your seat down. Put the seat down if you don't want to. I respect women.
Yeah. He's married to one. You just said it.
I don't think I need to. A woman is perfectly capable of deciding whether she wants the seat up or down.
Well, then she wants it down.
And you know what else is easy to do? For the woman to put the seat down.
Oh.
That's also what is extremely easy to do. And you know what? I have such high regard for women. I believe they're perfectly capable of doing that themselves.
It is. Okay, put it on the poll as
The way
well.
you framed it is hard to have a
Juju
rebuttal for.
and Le Batard Show.
Indescribably jerk.
Sorry.
Okay, well,
He's got a point.
What's wrong with that? Preaching.
every day they give me every day they give me a list of things that I could use for He's That Guy or You Don't Get the Show. But I'm not going to give this the You Don't Get the Show because it's fair criticism that I was just reminded of when I heard that audio again for the first time and remembered something that I did not toward the end. And this person writes in, remember when the show used to rail against the zippy and the juice format and claim we are not that. I'm pretty sure nonstop whoopee cushion fart noises and toilet seat bits is sort of that. It's the fairest criticism we've ever received.
I had so much fun, though.
You did.
I don't have a fair criticism sounder.
Let's find one. Can we get? We have Yeti working all hours of day and night. In fact, get the wrong song for me because I've got to apologize for something that I got wrong yesterday. And this is I want to do a daily Dan Got It Wrong segment, but this one's more moral than anything.
You're wrong, wrong, wrong.
I feel bad about what we did to Russell Wilson yesterday by asking Pablo Torre like college roommate questions. I had a blind spot about that, and when it happened, I'm like, why'd we do that? And I blew it.
You're wrong, wrong, wrong.
And so,
salute to you, brother. That's accountability because I felt when they were saying it, I was like, ugh.
yeah,
Like,
no,
you know what
it
I
was.
mean?
I shouldn't have done it. I think were we live? We were live, right? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And so I shouldn't have done it. And and that's my bad.
But salute to Pablo and salute to Nate Tice. I got y'all back if y'all need me in a fight.
What?
He really gets it from his groin, like it's just
Very loiny.
That's where he loves the show
wrong,
from.
wrong, wrong.
Yeah, he loves this show from down there, from his nether regions.
Also, Greg Cody on his take about the bathroom break yesterday. Baby.
You're wrong, wrong, wrong.
Jessica was wholly unsurprised when she said that Operation Broken Arrow had resulted in Greg Cody being the first culprit.
There was nothing surprising about that. If you had said, guess who's been leaving the seat up, and if you're wrong, we will kill you, I would have said Greg Cody.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Seat up for your life, huh?
Seat up for your life. It's Greg Cody. However, the curious thing is, I usually am not here the same days as Greg, and the seat has been up most of the times that I've been here. So there is more than one culprit.
Every time I walk in, and they're up.
But it's fairly obvious that the main perpetrator is Greg.
You know that the cleaning crew comes in, cleans it, and then leaves it up, right?
That's not what we're talking. We're not talking about first thing in the morning, Tony.
But when Dan walks in, the seats are up because the cleaning crew had just finished cleaning.
When I walk out, they're up.
So Tony's the second person that I would guess.
That's never been solidified. That there's no surveillance footage. There's nothing on that.
Look at here, Neo. You making yourself feel guilty as hell. Yeah. You know what I mean? The cleaning crew, don't bring them into this. That was a no-no, brother. I love you.
What? Leave it up. And it's clean. Imagine that. Leaving it up is clean. What? Am I wrong?
No, Jessica's non-audio eye roll was comedically funny. David Sampson, I have told you, has one of the most unique sports podcasts that there are. There are a lot of people in this space doing this now. Too many people, way too many people. You've got way too many options. But what David Sampson is doing as a lone voice on his program covering the stuff that he's covering every day, it's got a degree of difficulty that a lot of people are not doing in this space. So nothing personal. I urge you to check it out again because the sports business stuff is good, but that is not all of the stuff he's doing. He is being very thorough in how it is that he approaches that daily show. And this weekend, he's had some trouble sort of fitting in the Meadowlark universe. And this weekend, he's got a party. Is it here, David? You're doing it here at these studios, right, on Sunday?
Yeah, I'm on my way to Florida. We're doing Nothing Personal live from your studio Friday. And then on Sunday, we're doing a 7-hour Oscar party where we will be live streaming with Adnan Virk and Ben Lyons, both the red carpet and then watch party through the Oscars, and you're coming as well as so many the other people.
I was told this by my wife said that I was coming, and it was news to me. I did not know that I was coming, but it is Sunday, and one of the things that they're doing, Stugotz, because I don't think that you'll probably be here.
Lacrosse mitzvah.
David and Adnan care deeply about the Oscars. Ridiculously, I would say. It's a bit embarrassing, I would say, that we're doing it at the studio and not with them on the actual red carpet, because they would like to be there doing that show there. But they're going to take great care for 7 hours on Sunday.
He said bread carpet, not a red carpet, brother.
Oh, wow. That sounds amazing.
Is it gluten-free?
It's a fine.
We got turned down. We tried to do it from Hollywood, and Skipper, you and Bimmel actually said no, do it from the stained carpet at the Elser. So we're calling it live from the stained carpet.
I mean, the carpet's new. It is not stained.
No stains.
It's an awesome carpet.
There's nothing wrong with the carpet in here, and it's not the red carpet. And you keep doing this to me, and it's starting to get annoying, publicly and privately. I said no. I didn't say no to anything.
It's your company, man.
Dan, when I send you an email asking to do something and you don't respond, that's the same as saying no.
Okay.
It's worse. I mean,
Damn.
It is not no. I did not say no, you cannot go to the Oscars. That choice never came across
Did you say
anything that
yes?
resembles my life. No, I didn't say yes.
Well.
I haven't seen the email. My life's been very busy lately. Things are complicated.
The absence of a direct yes is a no.
I'm still thinking about the bread carpet.
Okay, regardless, there's some stuff I want
Sourdough.
to talk about in sports, Stugotz. But I saw a tepid response when I saw in the Slack, "Hey everybody, Oscar party on Sunday. Everybody here was invited," and I didn't see any responses.
I think a lot of people are coming and everyone's dressing up. I've got my tux ready. My girlfriend's coming in a full Oscar gown, so everyone's coming dressed up. We were told that Meadowlark is doing this great catering. It'll be just like Wolfgang Puck. So I believe that we are all in as a company for this Oscar party.
Two things, David. There has been some internal, dissent about the dress-up aspect. A lot of people don't want to dress up and don't want to come if they have to dress up, so we need clarification there. Second thing, someone is coming who is dressing up, and it's Willow, so just giving you a heads up that she will be there in a bow tie.
I am. If you will bring Willow in a bow tie, then I will love Willow that day.
But without that bow tie, keep it away from me.
No, not invited. And does that mean that Willow won't shed or bite me if he has a bow tie?
She will do both.
Sorry.
Fine.
I mean, why would you think a Willow is a boy? Why would you think that?
This is getting more dangerous.
So the answer to dressing up is that dress however you want. But in an Oscar party, there are people who are cool who can come in sweats, and a hat, but you can also respect the process and come in this amazing gown. Totally up to you. Rent the Runway is a great sort of thing that you can do, that I can do for tuxes, etc. So I would say it's totally up to you. Not mandatory in any way.
But are we expecting to do a live show now? Because once you invite everyone here, then it's a 7-hour live stream with the show.
So it's a show that Adnan, Ben Lyons, and I are going to be running and producing. So you do not have any heavy lifting to do. You can eat, watch the Oscars, participate in the gambling aspect of it because we're going to be filling out brackets and having competitions and prizes. So there's a whole lot that'll be going on, but don't act as though you're getting overtime for this.
Oh, please. We don't get overtime for anything, David.
If you were part of a union, you could get overtime.
All right.
Great segue.
Great segue, because Stugotz, I don't know if you saw this yesterday, but Dartmouth's men's basketball team is unionizing, and I wonder if that is as big a story as it seems like it would be. A couple of years ago, Northwestern football talked about this at one time.
Like 10 years ago.
Yeah, and I thought at that time it was a seismic undertaking that would cause what we've since seen. I thought 10 years ago when Northwestern unionized that it would do that, but that fell apart. Is this going to fall apart? What's the meaning of this?
So let's say it the right way. It's not that the men's basketball team voted to unionize. The actual vote was 13-2 to join an existing union because the NLRB gave them the right to be classified as employees who could then vote whether they want to join a union. And this current set of 15 guys said, yes, we want to join an existing union right now on the campus of Dartmouth, because we want to get overtime pay. We want to get better health care benefits when we're rehabbing from injuries. We want better living conditions, all sorts of things that in theory accrue to the benefit of union members. But we are so far from there, and that's what's being misreported. A, they didn't unionize. B, it's just in the process now. They haven't even heard the appeals because Dartmouth University, as well as all other universities around this country, do not want their athletes to be known as employees, because that creates a whole set of issues that involve, in my opinion, the disappearance of myriad sports and opportunities for kids around this country to play sports that aren't big-time sports because universities will not want them to be considered employees.
Dartmouth has been very vocally against this, like David said. So they're going to appeal, and it will probably go to the National Labor Relations Board, because what the National Labor Relations Regional Office is what allowed them to unionize, which is sort of the same step that Northwestern achieved back in, I think it was 2014. So right now, like David said, there's still a lot that's probably going to play out in the court system. But what's interesting is that the players have come out and said, basically, they really want health insurance. They really want the rights that the other employees on campus have by being part of the Service Employees International Union Local, which is the other group that represents employees on the Dartmouth campus. And so there is a bit of a question of what differentiates Dartmouth men's basketball players from other school employees. Do they do work that the school can control how and when they work? And the answer is probably yes. So where does that line lie? And I think there's also a lot of legal questions still up in the air, because Dartmouth is a private university, and a lot of the big universities in this country in terms of big football programs are public universities. Would they have to unionize with their private entity conferences that represent them, because the schools themselves probably, because of the legal distinction there, couldn't do that? So there's still a lot up in the air, but I think that it's really interesting and also super important to recognize that as recently as a couple summers ago, the Supreme Court sided with athletes in terms of compensation, sided against the NCAA because of the model of amateurism is just so outdated at this point, because schools are making millions, if not billions of dollars off of these television rights deals, which wasn't the case 30 years ago.
I just can't believe, David, what's happening, because I thought all of this was going to come crumbling down in 10 years ago. And what's happened is during the pandemic, it all fell apart. But please correct me if I'm wrong. Is this story being covered correctly? Because it would seem to appear to be among the biggest stories that could be going on right now in sports.
It is the biggest story going on right now in sports. However, it's just a little premature, which gives people an excuse not to cover it correctly or go into the level of detail that Jessica just gave you, all of which was right. I want to clarify one little thing about public versus private. What's going on with Dartmouth, this will only relate to private universities. There's a separate suit going on now with USC and their players, and that could open the door for all public university athletes to be considered employees, but it's separate tracks. And this only gets to the courts after the National Labor Relations Board deals with this on the national scale. And that still has to happen. And keep in mind, the presidential election's happening. And if it switches hands and it goes red instead of blue, you can change out the entire NLRB and they can completely overrule this and it wouldn't even get a chance to go to the courts. So we're about in the second inning. But if this gets to the ninth inning and all athletes, public and private, not just the Ivy League because that's so one-off, but if public and private athletes are considered employees, I guarantee you it will change the sports that are offered and how these athletes end up not able to play what they want to play.
I don't doubt that the universities would use it as an excuse to cut programs that they want to cut because there's already a monetary imbalance at these schools. And I don't...
Exactly.
I that wouldn't shock me in the slightest. But yeah, to your point, the election is going to be incredibly important because the current head of the NLRB, who was appointed by Joe Biden, is very friendly to the idea of NCAA athletes being considered employees. And I think it's pretty safe to say if Trump reappointed a new head of the NLRB, they would be very anti-labor.
Yes, I think that we're going to have to wait to see. And the fact is, these appeals take so long that this will not happen until after the November elections and after January when either Biden takes over or Trump takes over. So it's going to be fascinating to watch. But rest assured, every single university president is paying attention to what happened in Dartmouth. And it's just funny for me to think of these 15 Dartmouth players voting 13-2 in favor of joining this union, and that being the impetus for what this discussion is, when in fact it was originally them asking for the right to vote to join the union. That was the big story, and we just chose to ignore it back then.
All right, we got a lot of other things to talk about, so stay there, Samson, because we've got an assortment of follow-up questions for you.
It's true, though, David, that at any point in the last, I don't know how many years, the NCAA could have just introduced their own compensation model for athletes who are making their universities tons and tons of money and haven't done it until very recently. The new head of the NCAA has proposed a model we don't have to get into the details of, but this is kind of, all of these things are coming to a head at once, and I think it's why the Dartmouth case is so interesting, because it's happening at a time that I think most people that watch college sports have changed their minds on the amateurism model and think that why shouldn't athletes get paid to do the work that they're doing when Dabo Sweeney's making $10 million a year and Nick Saban was making more than that. It's just, the model has completely shifted with the rise of streaming and with the television rights.
But that's their job. So I view it, I don't get paid when I was in college or law school. I was investing in what my future would be or investing in my education. The people who play college tennis, they play it because they're good enough to play college tennis. They love the fact that they get to be on a team. It's not a huge moneymaker. Just like it's just as important for me in academics that someone who focuses on such a minor part of research that may or may not make a difference in anyone's life, but it's pretty cool to learn about paleontology, not that I'm picking on paleontologists, versus someone who's trying to cure cancer. The endowments may be different, but that doesn't mean necessarily that their pay is different. So I think it's important to understand the difference when you consider someone an employee. That's what we're talking about. The definition of what it means to be a unionized employee. It means you get the same protections whether you're doing something that's really worthwhile and worth a lot of money to your employer or not. And that allows the employer to make different decisions about your future.
I think that's the central question, though. And I think most people would argue that the athletes perform the same types of jobs as employees of the schools that they play for. I was a employee of the Notre Dame athletic department when I was a student there, and I got paid to cover sports where athletes were not making money to play the sports themselves. And I think that that's really fascinating and something that the Supreme Court itself was like, this doesn't really make any sense anymore.
But if you had to be paid overtime, my guess is you'd just be fired. Or they wouldn't allow you to work overtime hours, in which case you wouldn't be able to do the job the way you'd want to do it or to the best of your ability.
I was making $7.25 an hour, so I don't.
You did it for the love of the game, right?
No, I did it because it was money and job experience. But yeah, I mean that's the central question, though. Is it a job? Like, they're not doing it. You're not playing football because you love football. Maybe some players are. A lot of them are playing it because they want to go on to the next level. So it's a very it's an interesting question, and I think that most people would tell you they don't know if this is even the best thing to happen, if naming athletes employees is going to be great for them. I don't even know if most athletes would tell you that they want this. But I think what's interesting about the Dartmouth basketball players is that they were able to vote and have the choice, and 13 of them chose to do it, and that was the majority. So they were able to join their local union. I think I also read that a couple of the players on the men's basketball team at Dartmouth are actually part-time employees at the school and part of the local union for as part of their other jobs on campus. So they were, that is another factor. They're already part of this union and thought, why would this basketball job that we have not qualify for the same types of benefits?
Would you bring it down to high school? Because once everyone's an employee, what about the best high school players at these schools where they are feeders to college and feeders to pros, and you've got people playing high school basketball for the purpose of being a professional basketball player, or Friday Night Lights in Texas? You don't think that's a big business? What about high school kids being employees of the high school?
That's a great question. And now we're talking about minors. So I think it brings up a lot of other legal issues. And I truly don't know the answer. I'm not smart enough to give you one. But I think there's a lot of people that would argue that it's probably not a good thing to have such high level underage people performing jobs that are making the adults that can exploit them a lot of money without any sort of benefits or rights that they have a say in.
Nobody is smart enough to figure this out. It's all collapsing around us now, and they've been trying to figure this out. And I will just tell the audience again, I remember how we covered this 10 years ago. And this seems like a more seismic time in what it is that we're talking about, because you've seen what happens now. We were talking about it as an idea that would collapse amateurism back then, but now we've seen it collapse, and the numbers are there for everyone to see. And they're making all the important rules right now, and no one actually knows what the correct answer is. We wanted the NCAA to fall because it was unjust, but we don't actually have a solution for what happens when that happens. And the quarterback at USC is making $10 million in 2 seasons.
One of the things that John Skipper and I and Pablo Torre talk about on the sporting class is that all the Big Ten right now in SEC, and they're trying to maybe break away, or they're trying to get buys if the CFP expands. And everyone's interested in getting rid of the NCAA and getting rid of governance. And everyone loves that idea until they have to govern, until they live in a world of anarchy without governance. And I'm not saying that I'm pro-government or anti-government or the size. We can talk politics later. I'm saying you better have a solution for what's next. And what's happening here in college sports and what's happening with some of these conferences is they're just satisfied saying we don't like what's now. So therefore, let's get rid of it with sort of reckless disregard toward what will happen then. And I'm very focused on then, because as you learned with the Northwestern deal 10 years ago, now comes really fast.
That, I think, is why we are in this mess to begin with, because people that may have had the foresight 15 years ago to say, I can see how this is changing, and this is not going to work. This is not going to work in 2024 and 2025. didn't do anything about it. They just tried to cling on to amateurism as long as possible. And that's why I'm not even convinced, I'm not even sure that there is a model that works anymore. I don't know if unionizing employees is going to be the best thing for the entire student athlete community as a whole, that including every school, every athlete. I don't know if the NCAA's plan is going to be the best thing. I don't know if doing state-by-state legislation is going to be the best thing. It's all very messy and complicated, and that's because no one had any sort of foresight to look ahead and think, this is not going to work at some point, and that point has come.
How are you not distracted by what Tony's doing? I can barely do this segment.
I have no.
I'm
I'm just trying to power through it. I'm sorry.
No,
See him
listen.
lean back. He caught
In
himself.
terms of, I need to tell the audience this because some people are watching and some people are listening. The degree of difficulty on what Jessica just did, never mind what Neo was doing behind her. The degree of Neo was very distracting, and I was having a hard time not laughing as Jessica gave very good. Look, I will tell you right now that conversation is not happening anywhere else with people who have this expertise over what we're talking about.
Also not happening with Neo behind him.
That's correct. And
Right.
the expertise that they're giving you, you're like, okay, maybe the Dartmouth kids can figure it out. The kids at Dartmouth, they're guessing, all right, we'll bet on ourselves and the idea that athletes and human bodies are going to have rights and we're going to need some protections from whatever the greed is that's upcoming, because it's going to get more and more, David. These players are going to be more and more free, more and more disposable. They're going to change economies at schools. More college football coaches aren't going to want to coach college football because they're at the whims of 16 and 17-year-olds.
Nick Saban got out.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's total chaos.
So the question, what comes from chaos? And the general thought is that innovation can come from chaos. The other side of that coin is that continued chaos comes from chaos. And I think we're right now at that amazing inflection point where there are smart enough people who can figure this out. They just haven't had the willingness, and they haven't been forced to. What I think is happening with this Dartmouth situation and with the NLRB, and with the possibility of super leagues, et cetera, I think there's no more delaying. There have to be answers. We're not going to be sitting here 10 years from now. Well, all of us may be, except you, Dan, talking about it from this perspective, because we will have changes that will already have happened, and we'll be able to evaluate what those changes are.
Did he kill Dan?
What?
Where are you going?
No,
Dan?
I didn't. No, not dead. I'm talking about on a desert island with Valerie.
Okay.
Desert
okay,
Island,
there
what
we are.
happened?
There we
Date
are.
night.
You tried to
On
land
a
a plane,
date.
huh?
Plane crash.
On a permanent date
Wear
with
a hat.
Valerie.
Yeah.
He wishes he were doing that today.
David, do you still go on dates?
I'd rather not answer that.
Sorry about
That's
that.
that's
Whoa.
the question.
Why?
That's the question you don't answer.
I answer any
of
question,
all the
but not that.
questions we have asked you for
Dating.
for 20 years. That's the question you don't answer.
I don't feel like it's the right question to ask.
I want. I have less than a minute left here. So, do you want to do your review, or do you want to just tell people about the Oscar party? Because you're flying down here and you're going to spend 7 hours. You care about this thing deeply.
So I've been watching all the Oscar movies. I've got my ballot ready to fill out, and I've got one more movie to watch today in the international feature called Perfect Days. And then I'll be ready to do my ballot, and it's going to be a very well-produced show, and it's going to be exciting because while you may not be interested in the Oscars, we will make you interested in the movies, in the subjects, in the competition, in the fashion, in the glamour, in the gossip, and it's going to be fun. And so I encourage you to join us starting at 4 o'clock Sunday, live from the Stained Carpet. Metalark is doing a whole release about it 3 days ago. Did you guys do that?
Did we get a release? There's a press release.
Nope.
It's been released.
Willow will be there in a
We've
bow
released
tie.
it. It's been released.
Did you
We would
guys-
talk about